So in this video we are going to learn how to add CSS using JavaScript. So we are going to learn or just group the various methods into these three steps or these three steps here. So the first one is inline, so we are going to use the style attribute. The next one is the internal CSS one, so we are still going to use the style attribute, but the main syntax there is the CSS text. Then the external, so we can add an external CSS, so we can add and remove that by using the class list, or we can set an attribute. So let's dive into the code. Excuse me. Sorry, not what I wanted. This. Okay, so next one is adding CSS. So we want to look at the inline. So let's say the H1, for example, I want to add a style to it. So let's say like a color. I'll say dot style dot color equal to, which one should we use? So let's use the one that usually comes to our mind, red. So you see it has changed to red. Now if I want to add another CSS, I have to, so like padding, right? So you notice there is no minus here because this is JavaScript, and you know minus is an operator, so that will throw an error. So we use the camel case. So in place of that minus, you just use a capital letter. So I'm going to put, oh sorry, not margin right, it's margin left. So I'm going to put here 2 ROEM. Just excuse me. So you notice it shifts a little. So this can be very tiring because you can't add more than one CSS rule per time. So you have to do them one after the other. So let's say you want to add like 10, so you have to do this 10 times, which is very stressful. So with this in mind, you're going to comment this out. Then you're going to see how to use the internal. So you see the same thing. So you're going to select the h1 dot style dot css test, then equal to, then I usually like to use the backtick so that I can break the line just to increase readability. So I'm going to put here color red, then end with my semicolon, then margin, no margin, padding. Now I can put my minus right, left, 2 ROEM. Now I can add another one, border bottom 2 pixels, solid purple. So if I do this now, you notice all these three CSS rules will be what applied. So notice that's fine. So that has been added. Now what if I want to add this now from an external style sheet? So I'm going to comment this out still. So you recall that from our external CSS, I can create a CSS but if I don't assign it anywhere, it is not going to work. So let's assume that I want to give this a class of heading 1, not h1, not heading 1. Then I want to apply the CSS rule that we just copied from here to it when I want to. So what will happen now, I'm going to type dot heading 1 here, then I'll paste this and save. Now you notice that it is not being applied even though I've linked my standard size sheet. Now why is it not applying? Because I've written the CSS but I've not told CSS or I've not indicated the location where that CSS will be added. So if I put here class heading 1 and save, you notice it will be applied. Yes, but I don't want to do this manually. I want to use JavaScript to do it. So what I'm going to do now is I'll save that. You notice it's out. Then I'll go back to my JavaScript. So this one is external. So to do that, I'll just put my h1 dot set attribute, and this is going to be a class, of course. Then the value, which is heading 1, and that makes sense. So if I save this now, I've used JavaScript to indicate where I want the floating CSS rules to be applied. It's floating because it doesn't have where to be applied, so that I just call it that. So there's another method you can use if you don't want to use the set attribute, especially for classes. So I can also put my h1 dot c dot class list dot add, then I can put my heading 1. But if I comment this out, of course, you notice that the CSS will be lost. But if I add this now, see, it's back. So this is how we can add CSS using JavaScript. Now, you might be wondering, so when should I use the inline, when should I use the internal, when should I use the external? So use the inline if the CSS you want to do is not much, maybe like 1 or 2 lines. But if the CSS is going to be average, not that long, then you can use the internal. But if the CSS is really going to be much, and I want to avoid making typo errors so as to benefit from the intelligence that VS Code gives to you, then you have to use the external way of adding CSS using JavaScript. So that's it for this video. So in the next video, we are going to now learn how to create, replace and remove elements.